Okay, Chapter 11, Section 2, Number 15, to illustrate the effects of driving under the influence of alcohol. A police officer brought a DUI simulator to a local high school. Student reaction time in emergency was measured with unimpaired vision, and also wearing uh, a pair of special goggles to simulate the effects of alcohol or vision. The random sample, for a random sample of 9 teenagers, the time in seconds was required to bring the vehicle to a stop from a speed of 60 miles an hour was recorded. Complete parts A and B. A normal probability plot and box plot of the data indicate that the differences are approximately normally distributed with no outliers. And they give us a data table there. Whether the student had unimpaired or what goggles was randomly selected. Why is this a good idea here? Okay. Note that the students should not know what mode the simulator is using. Therefore, randomly selecting whether the student had impaired vision or wore goggles is a good idea in designing the experiment because it controls for any learning that might occur. Okay. So you can randomly selecting whether the student had impaired or wore goggles first is a good idea. Okay. That's part A. In part B, they want to use a 95% confidence interval to test whether there is a difference in braking time with impaired vision and normal vision. Where the differences are computed as impaired minus normal. So what we can do in here is go into StatCrunch and hit stats and go to T-stats and then select paired. Okay. And since we're going to have here, we have impaired minus normal. So I'm going to have here, cancel that. Select my data. There. Then I open it in StatCrunch. Here. Go to stat. Okay. And T-stat. And then paired. And then sample 1, they have here impaired. And sample 2 is normal. Impaired, so it'll have, when it does a subtraction, it'll say impaired minus normal. And then they say select confidence interval. Yeah. And the confidence interval should be at 0.95. And then I press compute. So it gives you my lower bounds and my upper bounds. Okay, and then there's my lower bounds there. And then I can see my upper bounds here. It's at 1.339, and my lower bounds is 0.695. Okay. So, since the confidence interval does not include 0, okay, to state the appropriate conclusion, determine whether the difference includes 0. If it doesn't include 0, then there's sufficient evidence to conclude that the difference in braking time with impaired and normal vision, there's a difference Otherwise, there is insufficient evidence to conclude that there is a difference. Okay. So we look at our interval here. It does not include 0. There's sufficient evidence to conclude that there is a difference in breaking time. So where does this 0 come from? Well, if we go back up here to this table here, if the difference was 0, if the average difference was 0 here, then that would mean that the normal and impaired, would have to be the same. The difference would be 0, so they would have to be the same. It would include it in the interval. But since the 0 is not included in the interval, there is a difference. Okay. And that's the end of that one there.